The auction of pain. The slave market on the planet Kreger 4 was loud, cruel, and full of misery. Hundreds of alien species walked between rows of cages, looking at the ones trapped inside. Some were old, some were young, but all of them were broken. They had been taken from their homes, sold again and again and used like tools. In the center of the market stood a tall metal stage. On that stage, one girl waited inside a small cage. Her skin was soft blue with faint glowing lines. Her hair, white as snow, fell across her bruised face. She looked young, maybe in her late teens by human years. Her name was lost to her now. For years, she had only been called Unit 12C. She was just another slave to the crowd. But her eyes still burned with something strange. Fear, yes, but also a tiny light of hope. She didn't know why. Maybe because today felt different. Loud voice echoed across the market. Next for sale, an exotic beauty from the distant moons of Zurel, perfect body, young age, and unbroken spirit. Very rare. The girl flinched. She had been sold before. Every time brought more pain. Every new master was worse than the last. The auctioneer smiled as greedy hands rose. 100 credits, 600, 800. But then, silence. A new figure stepped forward from the crowd. It wasn't a slime-covered trader or a rich noble. It was a human. A middle-aged human man with tired eyes and a calm face. His clothes were simple, like a worker or traveler. No armor, no bodyguards. He looked out of place. The crowd laughed. "Is that human lost?" someone shouted. "Maybe he wants a plaything," another one jeered. The man ignored them. He looked at the girl, not like a buyer, not like an owner. He looked at her the way someone might look at a child standing in the rain. She stared back. Her heart pounded. "No," she whispered to herself. "Not a human. They say humans are worse than anyone." The auctioneer laughed nervously. "Ah, Earthman, are you here to bid?" The man raised a single hand. 1,000 credits. Gasps filled the air. No one else bid. "Sold!" the auctioneer shouted, surprised. "To the human! Take your prize!" The cage opened. 2 guards pulled her forward roughly and shoved her at the human's feet. She didn't cry. She didn't fight. She just waited for him to hit her, to chain her, to drag her to a dark place like the others had done. But instead, he knelt down. "Are you cold?" he asked gently. She didn't answer. She didn't know what to say. She couldn't believe he spoke to her like that. Then from his shoulder bag he pulled out something soft. A coat. He wrapped it around her. The warmth surprised her more than any whip ever had. She looked up at him, confused. "Why, are you doing this?" she asked, her voice dry from silence. He didn't answer her question. He simply said, "Let's go." She followed him silently, the coat still wrapped around her. She was ready for the pain to begin, ready for the chains, ready for the dark room. But they didn't come. They passed by the cages, the screaming, the buyers. And as they walked, some even stared in confusion. Why is the human treating her like a person? She didn't know either. He took her to a small ship. It was old, not fancy, but it was clean. And inside there were no cages. "Sit," he said. He brought her water, real food, a blanket. She sat on the floor. She couldn't touch the chair. Slaves don't sit in chairs, he noticed. "You're not a slave anymore," he said quietly. She looked at him, eyes wide. "What?" she whispered. "You heard me." Her hands began to shake. "Are you going to hurt me?" she asked. He shook his head. "Never." "Then, why did you buy me?" He looked at her with sadness. "Because I couldn't stand watching them hurt you. No one should live in a cage." She didn't know what to say. Her heart hurt in a way she didn't understand. It felt like something was waking up inside her. Something buried for a long, long time. Hope. But still, she couldn't trust him. Not yet. So that night, as he slept in the pilot's chair. She quietly walked toward the exit and ran. Cold wind hit her face as the alien girl ran across the spaceport floor. Her bare feet stung with every step. The oversized coat flapped behind her like broken wings. She didn't know where she was going. She just knew she had to run. She didn't trust him. No one had ever been kind without a reason. No one gave food or warmth without wanting something back. This human, this strange middle-aged man, had to be a trick. Maybe he liked to play with his slaves first. Maybe he wanted her to feel safe and before the real pain started. Her breathing grew sharp as she reached a dark alley near the shipyard. She ducked behind metal crates, heart racing. Her blue fingers gripped the edge of the coat. Then she heard something. Not footsteps, not shouts, just silence. It was worse. She peeked out. No guards, no alarms, no sirens. He hadn't followed her. Why not? Suddenly a soft voice came from behind. You left your shoes. She spun around. The human stood a few feet away, holding a pair of clean boots. No chains, no weapons, no anger. Just those tired, calm eyes again. I thought you might need them, he added. She didn't speak. Her body shook. Her legs were ready to run again, but he didn't move closer. He simply placed the shoes on the ground between them, then sat down slowly on an empty crate. Like he had no intention of grabbing her. Like she was free to choose. The silence between them was heavy. I've escaped before, she finally said, her voice low. They always find me. I'm not looking to keep you, he replied. Not like that. Then why did you buy me? She snapped, voice cracking. He looked up at the night sky. My wife was taken by slavers a long time ago, he said. We never found her. I swore if I ever had the chance I'd stop it from happening to someone else. The girl stared. Your wife was a slave? He nodded slowly. She looked away. She didn't want to feel pity for him, or understanding. She wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't move. No one helps someone like me, she whispered. They just buy us to break us. I'm not here to break you. Then what do you want? I want you to heal. She flinched. No one had ever said that word to her before. Heal. It felt strange, soft, unbelievable. He stood again, but still didn't step forward. He pointed back toward his ship. It's warm inside. You can rest or you can go, but I won't stop you either way. He turned and walked back the way he came. She stood there in silence for a long time. Her eyes dropped to the boots. They were new, soft on the inside, her size. She looked at her feet, bruised, dirty, bleeding slightly. She picked up the boots. For a second, she looked in the opposite direction. Freedom. Maybe. Then she turned and walked back. Inside the ship, the man didn't look up when she entered. He was making tea. He placed a cup on the table without saying anything. She sat on the floor again. He noticed. You can take the seat. I'm fine here, she replied softly. He nodded. After a while, she spoke again. Do you have a name? James, he said. She hesitated. What is my name? He looked at her. I don't know. Do you remember it? She shook her head. Then maybe it's time to choose one. She blinked. Can I do that? Why not? She thought for a moment. They used to call me Unit 12C. That's not a name, that's a cage. Silence again. But now, something was different. The silence felt gentle. That night, she didn't try to run. She slept. Not chained, not watched, not hurt. And for the first time in years, she didn't dream of pain. She dreamed of stars. The ship hummed gently in the dark. Outside the small window, stars floated like diamonds scattered across the endless black sea. Inside, the room was quiet. Too quiet for someone who had only ever known shouting, screaming, and cold commands. She sat curled in a corner, wrapped in the same coat James had given her. The soft bed nearby looked inviting, but she couldn't bring herself to lie on it. Beds were for owners. Slaves slept on floors, but there were no chains here, no cameras, no masters, just her, and the strange, kind human who hadn't locked the door. Across the room, James was sleeping in the pilot's chair with a blanket over his lap and an old photo clutched in his hand. She had noticed it earlier. A woman, smiling. Human. Warm eyes. The kind of eyes that reminded her of him. She stared at him for a long time. Why hadn't he tried anything? Why didn't he yell? Why didn't he force her to serve him? It didn't make sense. She stood up, silent as a shadow, and walked to the table. A small datapad sat there. She tapped it, and a screen lit up. She expected coded messages, commands, maybe even a tracker on her. But instead, she found recipes, human food, and something even stranger. A list titled, "Names for her, if she wants one." Her hand trembled as she scrolled. Luma. Kira. Thalia. Tears touched her eyes. He had been thinking about her freedom, even when she wasn't, watching. She put the datapad down and walked over to the small sink. She stared at her reflection. Her pale blue skin was marked by bruises. Her eyes were tired. Her white hair hung in messy strands. She looked like a ghost, but under the coat, she felt warm. Suddenly James stirred. His voice was low, half asleep. "You okay?" She froze. I didn't mean to wake you," she said quickly. "It's all right," he yawned, sitting up. "Couldn't sleep anyway." She hesitated. "Do you always sleep in that chair?" He smiled. "Old habit. My back hates it, but it feels safer somehow." "Safer for you or for me?" she asked without thinking. He looked at her, no anger, just sadness. "For you." That answer hit her like a punch. He had stayed there, so she wouldn't feel trapped. "No one's ever done that," she whispered. "I figured," he replied. "Too many like you. Not enough people who care." She walked closer. Just a few steps. "Why do you care?" she asked. He looked at her and said nothing at first, then softly, "Because the galaxy's broken. And if someone doesn't start fixing it one person at a time, nothing changes." His words hung in the air. "I don't know how to live free," she admitted. "I don't even remember who I was." "You'll find her again," he said. "I'll help you." For a moment, the silence between them was soft, not scary. Then she surprised herself. "Thalia," she said. He blinked. "Sorry? I want to be called Thalia," she repeated, firmer this time. James smiled. "Thalia. That's beautiful." She felt something strange rise in her chest. Something warm, light, unfamiliar. A feeling she had never dared to feel before. Pride. Not because someone else called her valuable, but because, maybe for the first time, she had chosen something for herself. And James? He didn't smile like an owner pleased with his pet. He smiled like a man watching someone find their own voice. That night, Thalia didn't sleep on the floor. She took the bed. Not because James told her to, but because she wanted to. And for the first time in her life, the stars outside didn't look like prison bars. They looked like possibilities. The ship floated silently through deep space. Stars passed by in slow motion, but inside, time felt still. Thalia stood in front of a mirror in the small washroom. Her fingers trembled as she unwrapped the coat from her shoulders. It was the first time she had taken it off since he gave it to her. Her eyes locked on the marks. Burns, lashes, symbols, carved into her back by hot metal, scars that never healed. Some marks were years old, some were fresh. Each one had a story. Each one had a scream behind it. She touched one near her collarbone. That one came from the Zarg trader who punished her for not speaking his language. The circle-shaped one below her ribs came from an electric collar. The one on her thigh, she didn't even remember. She had passed out that day. The worst ones weren't even visible. They were the memories, the fear, the silence she had swallowed for so long. She heard a knock at the door. "Thalia?" James called softly. "There's food ready." "I'll be out in a moment," she said, her voice quiet. She looked at herself one last time. She didn't feel strong. She didn't feel brave. She felt broken. But she wrapped the coat around herself again and stepped out. The table was small, 2 bowls of soup, bowls of simple human food. Warm. Smelled like peace. James was already seated, sipping his drink. She sat across from him, still quiet. He didn't push her to talk, didn't ask questions, just ate slowly, giving her space. But tonight, she didn't want silence. "James," she said. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." She hesitated. "Why do you think I can heal?" He looked at her, serious now. "Because I've seen people heal before, even when it looked impossible. Not people like me," she said bitterly. "Especially people like you." She stared at him. "Do you want me to tell you what happened to me?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Only if you want to. This isn't about me." She took a deep breath. Her eyes burned, but she didn't look away. "They used to say my skin was too soft," she began. "So they burned it to make me tougher." James's hand clenched around his spoon. "One master didn't like the way I looked at him, so he blinded one of my eyes for a week with a flash torch." She touched her face. "It healed mostly, but I stopped looking up. After that," she looked into his eyes. "I forgot my own voice. I forgot how to cry. I forgot how to scream. I just existed." He said nothing, and that meant everything. She continued. "I tried to kill myself twice. Once with a metal shard, once by refusing to eat. They forced food down my throat. Tears finally fell, and when I saw you at the auction, I thought, here's another one. Another master. Another monster with kind eyes." James closed his eyes. "I'm sorry. You didn't hurt me. I'm still sorry," he said. "Because I couldn't stop what others did to you." She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "You say I can heal, but James, I don't know who I was before the scars. I don't even know if there was a me." "There was," he said softly. "There still is. And that person is more than just pain." She looked at him, tired and uncertain. "How can you say that? You don't even know me." He leaned forward gently. "I don't need to know everything about you to believe in who you can be. Healing is not about forgetting what happened. It's about rising with it, carrying it, but not letting it control you." For a moment, she just stared. Then she slowly reached for the spoon. She ate, small bites. Silent tears still rolled down her cheeks, but she didn't stop. He didn't interrupt her. He didn't look away. When the bowl was empty, she set the spoon down. Then she stood and turned around. She pulled the coat down from her shoulders, let him see every mark, every scar, every ugly truth. He didn't gasp. He didn't pity. He stood, walked up slowly, and touched her shoulder. Just, lightly, gently. "Every scar tells me this," he said. "You survived." She closed her eyes, then whispered, "I want to believe you. Then I'll stay until you do." That night, she didn't sleep on the bed because it was safe. She slept on the bed because she felt safe, and for the first time, she didn't dream of the past. She dreamed of a future. The stars were quiet, but Thalia's mind wasn't. She stood alone in the ship's small observation room, staring out into the vast galaxy. Planets, moons, distant suns, all out there. Spinning, burning, surviving. Just like her. Her fingers brushed the edge of the coat again. James had fixed a tear in it earlier that day without saying anything. He just handed it back to her with a warm drink and a quiet smile. She was still getting used to that. No commands, no collars, just kindness. And that was what scared her most. That morning, James gave her something strange. A small, empty card. She frowned. "What is this?" "It's a citizen ID," he explained. "I filed a request. You're officially free now. And this proves it." Her heart stopped. "But I don't have a name." "You do now," he said. She looked down at the card. The name Thalia had been softly written in his handwriting, not burned into her skin, not shouted in anger, written like it mattered. She held it like it was a treasure, and in truth, it was. Later, while James was fixing something in the HFY engine room, the ship's alert system beeped, a signal. Thalia checked the console like he had taught her. A small red icon blinked. Unknown vessel detected. She stiffened. It wasn't just any vessel. It was a hunter ship. The mark on the side. She knew it. It belonged to the Slaver Syndicate, one of the worst groups in the galaxy. The ones who had branded her, sold her, hunted others like her. She froze. Then something inside her cracked. She turned and ran. James met her in the hallway, tool in hand. "What's wrong?" "They're coming," she said. "The ones who owned me. I saw the signal. They found us." His face grew serious. He walked with her to the control deck, checked the monitor, and cursed under his breath. They must have tracked the auction logs. Too close, too fast. He looked at her. "You need to hide." But Thalia shook her head. "No, not this time." "What do you mean?" "I don't want to run anymore," she said, voice trembling. "I don't want to hide like I'm still a slave." "Thalia, I have a name now," she said firmly. "I won't go back to being 12C. James looked at her, eyes full of concern and pride. "You won't," he said. "Not while I'm breathing." She looked at him with fear and something else. Strength. "Then we fight." The ship had no weapons. It was a freighter, not a war vessel. But James had hidden a few emergency flares and one EMP pulse grenade in the cargo. "Won't stop them for long," he said, handing her a small device. "But it can blind their sensors if we use it right." She nodded, learning fast. They prepared, in silence, quick, sharp, focused. Then the slaver ship docked. Heavy boots landed on metal. Thalia hid behind a crate near the entrance bay, heart pounding. James stood in the open. A towering alien with iron armor and long black fangs entered first. "Well, well, Earthman," the slaver hissed. "Where's the blue-skinned property you stole?" "She's not property," James said calmly. "She was marked. She's free now." The slaver laughed. "Freedom is a dream, and dreams burn." He raised his weapon, and Thalia struck. From behind the crate, she threw the EMP grenade. The ship lights flickered, sirens screamed. James ducked. The slaver howled, blinded. Thalia leapt forward fast, precise like James had trained her. She grabbed the weapon, twisted the trigger arm, and slammed her knee into the alien's side. The other slavers came rushing in, but James hit the lockdown switch. The bay doors slammed shut. The ship's air began to vent, only for a second. Enough to make them stumble. Thalia and James ran for the control room. "They'll break through in minutes," he shouted. "Then we don't give them the chance," she said. She hit the engine override. A risky move, but it sent a wave of heat through the connection tunnel, frying the slaver ship's systems. James looked at her, shocked. "You just disabled their entire engine grid." She smirked slightly. "I learned from the best. The slavers were left behind floating, their ship dead, their pride shattered." Thalia stood in the hallway afterward, breathing heavy, hands shaking. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was adrenaline. Victory. She looked down at her ID card again. Thalia. Not a number, a name, a fighter, a survivor, and finally, a person. James stepped beside her. "You all right?" She nodded slowly. I don't think I'm the same person I was yesterday. That's a good thing. She looked out the window again. Somewhere out there, more slaves still waited. More girls like her, still trapped, still waiting for someone to call them by name. I want to help others like me, she said quietly. One day. James smiled. You will. The stars no longer looked peaceful. They looked like eyes, watching. After escaping the slavers, Thalia and James set the ship into silent mode. Engines cooled, lights dimmed. They floated in the dark, hidden inside a gas cloud near the outer rim of the Lanthus sector. But silence didn't last long. James stood over the ship console, brows furrowed. They're scanning the system again. I count 2 scout ships this time. Thalia sat beside him, tying her hair back. Her hands were steady now, more steady than they had ever been. They're not giving up, she said. They don't want to lose what they think they own. She glanced at the control screen. A blinking red light followed their previous path. They had burned it, disrupted it, confused it, but they hadn't erased it. They'll keep coming until they make an example of us, James said quietly. Thalia leaned forward. Then let's make an example of them first. James looked at her. This wasn't the scared girl he had bought in a cage. This was someone new, someone brave, someone dangerous. In the best way. We don't have weapons, he reminded her. She tapped the screen. We have speed, and we have one thing they don't. What's that? She gave him a fierce, small smile. Me. Minutes later, their freighter blasted out of the cloud and into open space. 2 slaver scout ships picked up the signal instantly and locked on. They gave chase. The slaver ships were faster, stronger, better armed, but Thalia was in the co-pilot seat now, reading maps, calculating jump routes, planning misdirection. She had never done this before, but she learned, and fast. She rerouted coolant through the side thrusters, overheated the rear shields just long enough to make the ship look like it was about to break down. James hit the manual drift button. To the slavers, it looked like their prey was falling apart. They moved in, laughing, careless, confident. That's when Thalia flipped the internal gravity plate. The ship shot upward like a comet. The slavers weren't ready. They overshot. She hit the counter thrust just as James opened a mini cargo chute. A spray of scrap and heated metal flew into the vacuum like a shotgun blast. It tore into one of the scout ships. The second ship veered off, but not far enough. Thalia launched the EMP beacon they had stolen from the last encounter. It detonated just above the scout's wing. Power flickered. The slaver ship spun, losing control. They were free. Again. Hours later, the ship coasted in orbit above a green moon. They needed rest. James worked on damage reports. Thalia sat, alone in the cargo bay, wiping dirt from the coat James had given her. It was stained now, scuffed, burned. But she refused to throw it away. It was the first thing someone had given her with kindness. It was more than just clothing. It was proof. Proof that someone had seen her as a person, not property. James came over and handed her a small packet of rations. She took it without a word, biting into it while staring at the stars through the ship's side panel. We make a good team, she said. We really do. James agreed. Then silence. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It was a silence shared between 2 people who had been to war, who had survived together. She finally asked, "Why do you stay?" James looked at her. "Because I made a promise." "To your wife?" He nodded. "She would have saved you too." Thalia felt a tightness in her throat. "I want to meet others like me," she said. "I want to find them, free them." "You will. Will you help me?" James smiled. "As long as I'm alive." Later that night, as they prepared the next jump, James handed her a small device. "What is it?" she asked. "A beacon," he said. "You activate this if you ever get taken again. It sends a signal straight to me." She looked at him, touched. "You really think I'll need it?" "I hope you never do," he said. but I'd rather be 5 minutes early than 5 minutes too late. Thalia nodded. Then she clipped the beacon to her belt, right beside her name tag. Not Unit 12C, not slave. Thalia. Then the radar beeped again. James checked it. His face turned cold. "What is it?" she asked. He looked at her. "They're not sending scouts anymore." She frowned. "Then what?" He showed her the screen, a massive ship, 10 times the size of theirs, black as void, no ID tag, just a signal name. The Collector. Thalia's heart stopped. She had heard that name before. The Collector wasn't just a ship, it was the mobile base of one of the galaxy's most feared slave lords. If he was here now, it meant war. The stars were silent, but the silence was heavy. A darkness had arrived. It wasn't just another ship. It was the Collector, a flying fortress used by the most feared slaver in the galaxy. Bigger than battleships, colder than any prison. Wherever it went, screams followed, and now it had come for her. Thalia stood beside James in the cockpit, staring at the screen. The massive ship hovered ahead, black as death, blocking all possible jump routes. Even the stars behind it seemed dimmer. James tightened his jaw. "He must have tracked us himself." "He knows I escaped," Thalia said. "He wants to make an example of me. He's not getting you back." She looked at him, and for the first time she wasn't scared, she was furious. "Get the engines ready," she said. James blinked. "We can't outrun that thing." "We're not running." He turned fully toward her. "Thalia, this isn't just a patrol ship, this is a monster. They'll board us, crush us, or worse." "I know." "Then what's the plan?" She stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "We hit them first." James stared. Then slowly, he smiled. "All right," he said. "Let's go down swinging." They didn't have weapons, but they had each other. James rerouted power to the engines. Thalia worked fast, building a makeshift charge bomb from scrap, power cells, and a stolen slaver ID chip. It wouldn't destroy the Collector, but it could disable the dock long enough to get inside. And that was her real goal. She didn't want to run. She wanted to free the others. Because the Collector didn't just come for her. It came for all those like her. Still in chains. The plan was crazy, and it worked. They flew directly toward the Collector at full speed, broadcasting a fake surrender message. The massive ship opened its forward hangar bay, expecting a helpless pair. Instead, they got a freighter, full of fire. James hit the emergency release. The charge bomb hidden inside the fuel tank shot into the hangar bay before impact. Boom. The explosion didn't destroy the Collector, but it blinded its sensors and cracked open the docking bay. Smoke and fire poured into the heart of the slaver ship, and inside the chaos. Thalia jumped in. She moved like lightning through the corridors. Her coat was gone, replaced with dark armor James had pieced together for her from salvage. Her name tag, Thalia, shone on her chest. She wasn't hiding anymore. She wasn't running. She was here to fight. She bypassed the first guards using smoke pellets, then knocked out 2 more with a shock baton she had built herself. They never saw her coming. She didn't kill, but she didn't miss either. Room by room she found them, slaves, girls, boys, elders from every world, trapped, broken, silent. Just like she had been. She opened the cages one by one. "Come with me," she said. "You're free now." Some cried, some stared, some just ran, but all followed. Meanwhile, James fought in the control bay. He hacked the nav system, setting the Collector's course into a slow spiral toward a dead planet. Just enough to force evacuation. Alarms screamed. Slavers panicked, and the former slaves? They followed Thalia like a shadow, until she met him. The master, the Collector himself. A tall alien wrapped in a black robe with white glassy eyes and a cruel, twisted mouth. His voice was soft but full of venom. "You," he said, stepping toward her. "Me," she replied, raising her baton. "You were mine. I was never yours. You will regret running." I regret not fighting you sooner. He lunged, but she was faster. She dodged, spun, and slammed her baton into his leg. He screamed, drawing a blade. They fought, metal clashing against electric shock. He was stronger, but she was smarter. She led him into the gravity core chamber, where the ship's artificial pull was unstable. With a single button, she triggered a pulse. The core flared, and the master floated, helpless, for just 1 second. It was enough. She kicked him into the exposed core rail. He hit it with a spark, and screamed. The power shocked him unconscious. Not dead, but finished. James arrived seconds later. He stared at the scene, Thalia standing tall, the master unconscious, and dozens of freed slaves behind her. You did it, he breathed. She turned to him, bruised but smiling. No, she said. We did. They escaped just as the collector went dark. With systems offline and engines jammed, the massive ship drifted toward the dead moon, not crashing, but lost. And its prisoners? They were gone, safe, free. On a small rescue outpost days later, Thalia stood in front of a galactic official. The woman stared at the report in disbelief. You led a breakout inside the most dangerous slave ship in the known systems? Thalia nodded. And what's your role now? The official asked. Thalia looked back at the freed people behind her, now laughing, walking, hugging each other under open skies. I'm no one's slave, she said. I'm a name. I'm a fighter. I'm a rescuer now. James joined her later on the hill outside the station. He handed her a small package. She opened it and found her coat, repaired, clean. But the burn marks were still there. I thought you'd want the scars to stay, he said. She nodded. They remind me of who I was, she whispered, and who you became. She looked at him. You didn't save me, James. He blinked. What? You didn't just save me, she said again, smiling. You believed in me so I could save myself. Then she looked up at the stars, and for the first time in her life, she didn't see darkness. She saw a path, and she was ready to walk it, as Thalia, free, fearless, and never again a number.